Hey everyone, I'm Heather and I'm here to show you my recipe for lemon chicken. And I am using today kind of a little small pan, but you can do it as a sheet pan or what they call hobo dinners, which is where you kind of do a bowl shaped with tin foil and then cover it up and put it in the oven. Today I'm going to be using just a microwavable baked potato, but this recipe you can do many different variations. You can do red potatoes, you can do yellow potatoes. The key to yellow potatoes is potatoes are really hard to get tender in the oven. And because everybody's oven cooks differently, you want to make sure that if you do yellow potatoes, you cut them into thin slices. But if you're going to use a baked potato, those are pretty easy to do. Both are good with it. Yellow potatoes, red potatoes, I've done all of them. The little red potatoes are a little bit easier to cook. I will mention that if you do not want to do chicken in a pan and you would prefer to do it in the air fryer, that is a possibility as well. And before I get started, I am using just a basic vegetable medley that I got from Walmart. But you can use any vegetable you would like with this. Sometimes I've added tomatoes. You can add zucchini and squash. You could just do one vegetable and do broccoli or cauliflower. So there really is an endless amount of options here. But for this, I'm just using a small bag of the medley. You will want to have butter. You'll need lemon juice. Always spray your pan. That definitely does help with cleanup. You will need olive oil, salt and pepper, and Parmesan cheese. Now this will be optional, but I'll tell you what I'm going to do with that at the end. To save on time, I have preheated my oven to 375. We will be cooking this meal for about 30 to 35 minutes. It really depends on how fast your oven cooks. So just grab yourself a little bowl because you're going to be mixing your own drizzle here. So we want to heat up, if you don't have margarine, you want to heat the butter up. And that only takes a couple seconds. And what you're going to do is you're going to mix in about 2 tablespoons worth of olive oil. And sometimes you'll have to add a little more. That's now a liquidy goodness. I always love butter. Now, like I said, I'm just eyeballing it here, but you really want about 2 tablespoons because the oil and the margarine mix together. So you may want to grab yourself a spoon, which I did not do that. I apologize. Grab my spoon here. And you're going to mix that around. And then what you're going to do is you're going to add, now I will say with the lemon juice, this is what you're adding next. If you do not like lemon juice taste or lemon taste, if you're just wanting to use lemons and squirt the juice, if you do not like that taste, you can still use this by using butter and olive oil. You do not have to add the lemon, but I'm doing lemon chicken, so this is what I'm doing. So you do not want to add too much of this. So I would just say maybe about 2 teaspoons, just enough to give it that taste. And that's about it. And then you're going to stir that together. Now, what you're going to do next is put your vegetables on the tray, or the pan, I should say. And it doesn't matter if they kind of overlap on the chicken. Some of it will do that, especially if you do a hobo dinner. As long as it fully cooks, you're fine. Now, here's the variations. So if you're using a baked potato, you don't want to drizzle this on it. Now, obviously, once you're eating, it's not going to make it taste bad, but we're focusing on the vegetables and the chicken. But if you're using yellow potatoes or red potatoes, you want that season on the potatoes, so you can drizzle that olive oil and butter on it, and it'll taste fine. I don't know that I would want to put lemon juice on the potatoes, so you may want to do a separate drizzle. And if you want to put the lemon, butter, and olive oil on the chicken, do so. But if you're doing it on the yellow potatoes and red potatoes, you're only going to want to do butter and olive oil. Now, sometimes people like to add a little extra salt on their potatoes, so you definitely can do that. What you're going to do with the drizzle is you're going to start pouring it on top of the vegetables and the chicken. So I'm just doing that there. And what this does with the vegetables is kind of helps give it, not only bring out the flavor, but it helps it have more of a steam action in the oven without just being dry. Then you're going to take your salt and pepper and gently sprinkle a little bit of salt on the chicken. And if you're having to watch your salt intake, just don't put extra salt. Then just sprinkle just a tiny little bit of black pepper. Now, like I said, I usually cook this for about 35 minutes. If you're using boneless chicken breasts, you have to be mindful whether you're using boneless or not having bones. The thickness of the chicken, or you're using a thigh or a breast. I'm using chicken breast, the Purdue boneless chicken breast. Mine is a decent thickness, but you have to be mindful. Is it a thin piece or a thick piece? If it's a thick piece, you may want to cook it for more than 35 minutes. It just depends on your oven. How you tell if it's cooked is once you do it for 35 minutes and you get it out the oven, you can just stick a fork or a knife in it and see if it's fully cooked. What I would advise is potatoes sometimes can take longer. If you are using yellow potatoes and you pull it out the oven and you say, well, my vegetables are fine, my chicken's fine, but my potatoes are not. Make sure you take the potatoes out or remove the chicken and vegetables out, because you don't want to overcook your chicken or your vegetables. If you're using a baked potato, that's not a problem, that's a separate dish. If you pull it out and you say, well, the chicken's done, but the vegetables aren't done, you may just want to add an extra 5 minutes and keep checking it. Some vegetables will cook a little bit faster, and the goal with this kind of marinade here is to help the juice absorb into the vegetables so that it is a little bit softer, kind of like a steam action. Now, if you get this out and the chicken is still not done, as I said, just keep adding 5 minutes. I do not think you'll probably have to go over 35 minutes. And as I said, you can do anything. You don't have to do chicken breast. But this is, again, the lemon chicken recipe. And as I said again, if you do not like lemon flavor, you can still use the olive oil and the butter seasoning. And if you decide that you don't want to do the lemon juice at all, so that it makes it easier, and you just want to pour it all over 3 items, you can do that. That's what I really like about this recipe, is it's versatile. You can kind of do pretty much anything to it and variations. So I really like to add tomatoes a lot of times to it, and you can just get those tiny little tomatoes and put in there. Another thing that I like to do when I get this out of the oven is putting Parmesan cheese on it. Now, you can do this on all of it. You can put it on the vegetables, you can put it on the chicken, and you can put it on the potatoes, the baked potatoes, the red potatoes, or yellow potatoes. Another thing you can also do to add even more flavor is if you want to add a little bit of bacon bits on top of the potatoes, you can do that too, and it tastes really, really good. You know, potatoes are something that everybody has a certain way they like them. So you don't exactly have to follow everything I'm doing. If you want to get creative and just put what you would like on it, definitely do that. And I'm always trying to come up with new ways to make this even better. But again, this is the lemon chicken recipe, and when you get it out the oven, you will be able to tell if it's done and make your best judgment. Again, this is a relatively cheap meal to do. You know, you can buy for a few bucks each item, and it can feed a family, or it can feed a single person. I'm going to be eating this tonight. So again, if you're doing a large family, I would say more than 4 people, you may want to do a sheet pan. But of course, if you're able to do the hobo way, it's a really fun way to do that as well. And then when it's done, you can everybody has their own individual bowl. But again, like I said, this is just a small pan there, so I'll give a little visual of what it's going to look like going in the oven. And I hope you enjoyed this video. I again love to cook, and so yeah, if you have any questions and you have me on social media, feel free to reach out. My Instagram is Heather_McCoy3. You can also find me on Facebook. And yeah, I hope you like it, and hope you, want to make it more than just tonight. But and give me suggestions if you think I should add something else to it. Because like I said, I do tomatoes, and usually I do broccoli and cauliflower, but I'll tell you one thing that's really, really good is zucchini and squash. Especially if you do the zucchini and put this Parmesan cheese on it. Excellent. So yeah, I hope you enjoy, and thank you for watching.